Greetings everyone from downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Today is Sunday, April 13th, 2025. It is around 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time, and a very pleasant 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Not much wind, a tiny bit, but compared to how the weather was for the Cleveland Guardians' first X number of home days, I'm sure this will be a big relief to them, where they won't be so cold, and probably see more fans attending the game too. We're on the edge of downtown Cleveland right now. There's the Detroit Superior Bridge along Superior Avenue, which would take you to the Ohio City neighborhood and the west side of Cleveland. In the far distance there, that's the future home of the park that they're going to be building, the Irish Bentown Park. And then if we turn around, you get your glimpse as if you were going into downtown from the Detroit Superior Bridge area. The Rockefeller building here still shuttered. They have these advertisements around it trying to pretty up the building a little bit, as opposed to having that ugly wooden boarded up things. See, you got the Guardians hot dogs. They're playing Connect 4, although you've got some graffiti or marking on it. Like, what does that say? I hate Cleveland something in it. Yeah, but you can see as we pass the Rockefeller building, at West 6th Street, Terminal Tower, and in front of us, the Sherwin-Williams building. It'll be interesting when I go to the other side to see if they finally patched up the remaining portion where the glass wasn't at. Someone the other day said that the Sherwin-Williams lettering up top finally became lit up the other day. And I can't recall if it's on both sides of the building or just the eastern side, where they plan on having a light like a light strip that goes up and down the building. I don't think that part's been activated yet. You can see the parking garage associated with the Sherwin-Williams building. So if you guys have followed these updates over the months, you can clearly see a big difference in the progress. Like right now, you're at a status where the cranes are gone. All you have left really over here is, the parking lot here, the mini parking lot, is like finished. You just have some construction crews there. The fencing on the sidewalks, there's less, they don't have those banners covering it anymore. After we cross here, we'll get a closer glimpse at it. Look, they even have, this ready and up and done. Yeah, I think the last time I was here, they still had all the banners up, so you couldn't, you had to peek between the fences to see everything. And that's probably some of the concrete barriers that were here before. So those will be removed at some point. You'll have more greenery once the trees start growing. Let me put the camera above the fence. Looks like we're going to have a couple of bike racks here. What's interesting is like you can still see the drawings where it looked like they were gonna, I assume, drill them in. Maybe that was just to help measure, like maybe there's some type of tool where they set it down and it helped them like align it, and that's not actually what it was. You've got probably one of these downtown Cleveland kiosks ready to be unveiled. I'm assuming that's just the similar ones you see throughout the city. They still have to lay some cement work here, and that's where you have the concrete barriers that remain. But even this has, you know, the banners pulled down so we can actually see through. Now in the interior there, you can still see how they have some construction work that they're doing. I have no knowledge of what, I don't know if I've seen any blueprints of what like the interior is going to be like. Is there going to be a nice big atrium inside? Or is it just going to be like a boring office building look once you enter? It'd be kind of neat once it's open to like pop in for a second and check it out. As we're approaching West 3rd now, you can see Hotel Cleveland, recently renamed to the original name. Got the very thin traffic lights that'll be up here, and then the bridge or interlink that'll connect the two buildings across the street. There's still some light, like they got to do something there. That's why they have the construction lift. Some very small lifts here that'll probably help get up to those places. The smaller building that's here just still seems like odd to me. Like, I know they purchased both lots of land. But it's just, you know, comparatively speaking, such a small building. 2 levels. I know it's supposed to be something like an event center or like a little gathering space. But to take up the whole block for that seems a little bit odd to me still. And what I was referencing, like the past couple of videos that I'd done here, you still had like the glass, I think it was in the center, was not input there. It still had all the like wooden boards up. But that is all patched up now, so that makes it a little bit prettier. And I assume they're going to be putting some trees here in between. I haven't seen anyone put I see there's 10 people watching right now, but I haven't seen anyone put a comment in the chat yet. Can someone, if they are able to, throw a comment in the chat? I just want to make sure that it's working right now. There's a Cleveland Guardians game that begins at 1:40 p.m. So you may see a little bit of traffic in the downtown area. I was originally thinking of doing this update, April 2025 update for Cleveland tomorrow, meaning Monday. But I saw a chance of some storms happening in the late afternoon tomorrow, so I figured let me do it now, and then after this video I'm going to try to head down to University Circle. I'm not sure if the cherry blossoms will still be blooming, but if they are, I'd like to capture some of that. There we go. Finally I see my first comment. Jeff says it's working, Poco Traveler. Thanks for commenting. See some cherry blossoms or springtime trees over here, although they are giving off the feel that it's sort of like they bloomed but they're ready to, I don't know, I can't quite tell. Is it like they're bloomed and ready to die back out, or are they just not finished? If you're watching ever the Old Stone Church live YouTube cam, which is up there and points out to Public Square, you could see me right now waving to it. Thank you, Fernando. Glad you're able to catch the live stream too. Now this is something I'm not accustomed to. Someone, group of cars look like they're doing their own makeshift parking setup in the bus lane. I've never seen it, so I mean that must be some type of coordinated thing. I don't think one car spontaneously did it and the rest followed suit. Mr. Burns asked, what do you think of the renovations at Progressive Field? I'm going to try to swing by there in a bit to the outside so we can see if we can see some of them. Try to time it up like closer to when the game's starting. But since I have a T-Mobile, I was able to get MLB. T-Mobile offered its customers one free year of MLB.TV, so I've been able to watch the Cleveland Guardians games. And again, not that it's a huge deal, but like from the TV perspective, you know, where the camera points to you see the pitcher in the home plate area. I'm looking at the backdrop. It looks kind of weird to me from that TV perspective because the way they designed it, it almost looks like there's just like nothing there to see. Like you can't see any of the fans behind home plate, and it's not like pretty looking or anything. It kind of just looks all like random fencing jumbled together. And also when they show the TV angles, it kind of looks weird still how you have all the... I don't know if they're eventually going to change the walls to be blue too, but they changed all the seating to be blue seats. So when there's a cold day and there's not many fans there, and I see the green fencing or walls that used to match the green seats, and now you have the green walls versus the blue seats. It just kind of looks weird as we're outside the Fountain of Eternal Youth. I've done this on many of videos, but let's go ahead and quickly hop on over to the H's and see HESS. There you go. Calvin Hess. One of my far back relatives. And in the distance over there, you've got Huntington Bank Field, which is a whole mess that hopefully we'll have some clarity on in the next couple months. You know, are they going to move to Brook Park? Are they not? You know, a lot of it hinges on apparently state funding and what they'll get. So I believe the Haslam's said something to the effect of, I can't remember if it's June or July, they'll know whether or not the state budget is approved for those funds to help build it in Brook Park. Otherwise, if they're not, then they'll have to revert back to looking at possibly renovating the existing stadium. There's the 22 bus. I took the 22 bus to get to downtown Cleveland right before I began this live stream. What's nice about 22 and I think a few other buses is RTA increased the frequency of the service either a couple months ago or sometime late last year. So the 22 used to run only every half hour on Sundays. Now it runs every 15 minutes during the prime hours of the day. I think there's still a certain point in time in the evening where it goes back to 30 minutes. With a nice reflection of Key Tower in the Sherwin-Williams building. Got a couple of comments in. B says, "Welcome home, friend in my head." How about those Cavaliers? They gave me life this year. Greatest group of men ever. Love my Guardians. But yeah, right now Cleveland sports, I mean, we've had several moments in time as you see some Guardians fans here approaching, getting ready to walk to the stadium. We've had some points in time where there's been like all three Cleveland sports are really feeling optimistic. You've got the Cavaliers, of course, getting that number one seed in the East, getting ready for the postseason soon. You've got the Guardians just starting, and yeah, they struggled a little bit on the road, but now they've won 5 straight games at home. Sort of some of that beating up on the bad White Sox, but hey, that still counts. Got to take out your division. And then the Browns, yes, the Browns were or have been a mess, but even though Joe Flacco's not a long-term answer, that I think is, given everything that happened with Deshaun Watson and then the magic that Flacco had 2 years ago, some fans are a little excited, like, all right, at least we got someone that we can try to have some blind optimism in again. Flacco fever is back, yes, but I was just, as I was getting here, as you see the Museum of Illusions. Before I was getting here, one of my colleagues at Dogs by Nature was citing a headline that said Kenny Pickett, at whatever event he was just at, said that he fully intends on being the starter. So guess what? That's the battle we're going to see. Flacco versus Pickett. You know which side fans are going to be on. But in all fairness, they should be competing. I mean, you never know when someone gets up there in age if they've lost it, and if Flacco deserves to win it, he'll win it. But if something goes awry, you got to have a competition between the two. Laura R says, "Hey Chris, welcome back to Cleveland. Always glad when you return. Your videos are always welcome." Thank you very much, Laura. Always nice to see you in the comments. Mr. Burns talking about the stadium, saying they still have the upper seats to replace with the blue. And the fence behind home plate will probably stay the same, but the club they're building behind home plate will be done by the end of May. So maybe that's why it looks a little weird. Maybe they'll like change a little bit of that, and will we actually be able to see the club? That's what I'm wondering. I knew they were supposed to be building it. I wasn't sure that they didn't know they hadn't quite finished it yet. And then Cleveland Noop saying Flacco fever back. Yes. Oh, on our left we've got the funny bus. I assume that like takes the place of the old Lolly the Trolley tours, maybe. We got some type of construction over there. Restaurant. I mean, outside of Flight Social. Maybe they're just redoing the brick pavers. Now, next to Pizza 216, there was like a Kathy's ice cream. It had been in there and it moved out, and now it looks like Pammy's ice cream, which had been in development, is open outside of the arcade. You know what's funny? Sometimes after all these years, you still notice small details, and I'm sure a lot of people have known this, but like, I knew the arcade thing was there. I didn't realize, sorry, my finger's blurring, I didn't realize those two things on both ends of it were up there. It's a nice, like, decorative thing. I gotta remember to try to take a picture in that vein of things. But yeah, ice cream place there. And speaking of ice cream, I just read an article on the Neotrans blog that said they're going to be at Playhouse Square putting in a Ben & Jerry's ice cream right next to the Starbucks that's at Playhouse Square. So that's going to be in the works now. Now here, the Cavaliers announcer, so the Cavs, unless that's a replay going on, they must be playing the game right now. As we go down East 4th Street. If I have time, I'm going to try to visit this good pizza place on Monday or Tuesday and do a short video there, just like I did at Jake's Pizza back in February at Public Square. One other thing I noticed, and this particular one has nothing to do with Cleveland per se. This is a countrywide thing for states that have it. But when I got off the plane yesterday, I was like, oh, let me see what the Mega Millions and Powerball drawings are at. And when I went to the Mega Millions website, you're prompted with a big banner that says, like, oh, changes as of April, like a few days ago. By the way, over there you see $45 parking. Anyway, one of the changes it said was Mega Millions tickets are now $5 a ticket. And they're trying to promote it by like, oh, we're automatically including the Mega Plier, more likely to win smaller prizes because we're dropping like one of the golden Mega Balls at the end. So it's 1 in 23 chances instead of 1 in 24, and a few other small nuances, but I don't know. I liked it when it was $1 a ticket. When it was $2 a ticket, I was like, alright, I can still do that. Now it's $5 a ticket. Just seems less enticing to throw your money at it and have that hope. These trees are nicely bloomed right now, and this gives me hope when I visit University Circle after this video that it'll be nicely bloomed there as well.
Enjoy the game, guys. Have a good day.
We're outside of Rocket Arena now. Yeah, I mean, I should have looked. I knew I've been paying attention to the Cavaliers, of course, but since they clinched and I've been busy, I didn't pay attention to whether the Cavaliers were playing a game today. So, even though I don't see a lot of traffic outside the stadium right now, or the Rocket Arena, I do see a few people roaming around inside. Maybe someone can let me know. Maybe can someone let me know, are the Cavaliers playing a home game right now, or are they on the road somewhere? By the way, if you're watching this video, always appreciate if you could hit that like button and subscribe to Poco Traveler if you haven't already. Back in early to mid-March, I was in New Orleans for my annual work conference, and I did a ton of videos there, just like I have in previous years. Mr. Burns says Cavs are playing the Pacers at home. They're up by 6. Oh, nice. So you got both games going on now. Milwaukee Observers had very nice. We like downtown Cleveland. We visited a couple years ago. How's the Hilton Hotel and Convention Center doing? The Sherwin-Williams Tower looks terrific. Jerry from Milwaukee. Well, I know the Convention Center still has, plenty of events, and I think the Hilton Hotel stands out nicely from that view of the grass. In fact, being over near that grass area and looking at it brought me back vibes to close to a year ago when we had the historic solar eclipse happening, and everyone was standing there, and that's where I chose to camp out and watch things at. And that was coinciding with opening day back in 2024. See, there's Progressive Field. Welcome, Walter Minifonzo. Thank you. So let's see here. Let me check my time and see what time it is. 1:40. So the game, I believe, should be starting right about now. So I'm going to try to walk behind the bleachers. I'm going to give this advance warning. If someone may say something like, oh, about filming, and I only say that because one year they did say that during opening day, so I just pointed the camera down. Even though technically they shouldn't have been saying anything. But I'm not going to debate it in certain aspects. So one of the big changes they made this year, this offseason, was previous offseason they took the upper levels in right field and converted them to open air spaces and got rid of the seats. They did the same thing now with left field. You can't quite see it from this angle, but maybe if we get back behind the bleachers and then point to it, we can see it. And they were also supposed to open the terrace club and make it like a terrace hub. Is that what they called it? I forgot what nomenclature they were using. But instead of enclosing the terrace club, they were going to open it up. Okay. So Laura R says, I'm originally from Wisconsin, but lived in Cleveland for 6 wonderful years. Still feels like home to me every time I watch these videos. Yeah, it's always nice to see glimpses of places you've been to. I try to build fond memories out of everything I see, like even these cities that I visit. Like when I visited New Orleans. New Orleans was a unique one because when I saw it, it was different than any other city I had been to. And it was a place where, I know some people differ on this opinion, but I'm like, that was one of the only cities I've been to where I was like, I probably wouldn't want to live here, but I still appreciated, being able to see it and all that stuff. Oh. Let's see if we get our glimpse of home plate. Yeah, when the trees don't grow in yet at the beginning of the season, you get this, you can watch the game from here.
He took a look down at third base coach Vance Wilson. Damon Holland coaching at first for Matt Quintero, the former Cleveland Indians coach, who finished runner-up to Stephen Wood last year for the American League manager.
Let's see one pitch.
Now the 3-0, and it's touch high.
Ball 4. Ooh. Let's get toward a little bit further back so we can see some of those renovations. Yeah, even here it's hard to tell quite. So up there though, that's where you can see where they got rid of the 1, 2, 3, 4 sections and turned it into open air. Looks like they're calling it the Terrace Garden, Blue Moon Terrace Garden. I mean, there are a couple of seats I didn't realize that would be in front of there that they didn't get rid of. But then, yeah, what we can't see is below that where the Terrace Club used to be. And last year, they, for decorative purposes, they covered it with a big Cleveland Guardians blue banner. But I believe it's reopened now and it's open air. So essentially it should be the same thing to my understanding, like a big restaurant. But it used to be heated. I remember like on cold days in the past, I only went in that area once. I didn't actually eat there, but they used to have, I don't know if they still have it, they had like a museum. I can't remember if it was Bob Feller Museum or something that was in there. And I went in there during a doubleheader of a cold day, and the whole area was nicely heated. That was like one of the only spots in the park you could get heated, so I like loved going in there for that purpose. Now it's open air. Maybe they still have heating elements in there for colder days. Sounds like Guardians just turned a double play if you can hear the cheering. So then back there, one of the other changes they made, you know, they put in more blue seats. They still have some green seats, as they pointed, I think it was Mr. Burns maybe that pointed out earlier, the green seats that they still have to replace. But one of the things they did, they put in some red seats up there in that very middle section, so it shows the Cleveland Sea when the stadium's empty. I mean, now you can see it because there's not a full crowd. And then back behind it, you can see the lettering that would say Progressive Field if you're behind home plate. Trying to see, I don't think there's a crosswalk over there. I was going to maybe check out that vendor stand outside of the cemetery, and you got some cherry blossoms. So let me go to this intersection instead. Oh look, someone else has a gimbal. Laura says, yeah, I think you had commented on one of my videos about being in New Orleans. You found it fascinating at first and tired of the tourist crowds. Yeah, to me it was fascinating just to see it from visitors of like, man, like look how different it is, look how tiny a lot of the houses is, how crammed everything is. But everything's so different. Like something as simple as, let's talk about maybe like Ridge Park Square in Brooklyn, or Crocker Park, or even like in the west side of Cleveland, like Westtown Plaza, or like I'm so used to little shopping strips and areas everywhere. To me, at least, I thought it covered a decent amount of ground. You didn't quite see the presence of that everywhere. But in some neighborhoods, you did have some more local food places and thrift shops that were embedded in the community. So something like that's cool. Probably the Bywater neighborhood. If anyone watched my video on the Bywater neighborhood, that was the one thing when I looked at it. I'm like, okay, this isn't a touristy thing, but it's very like vibrant, colorful. I like the small local places. The place I ate at, I got some barbecue food. That area, I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. But it also would be a huge deviation from the type of living area that I'm familiar with. And then, of course, the huge party presence. I mean, when I went down Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, I'm like, all right, yeah, it's cool to see. You've always heard of Bourbon Street your whole life, but this is not my type of scene. Let's see what players we got featured. Jose Ramirez, Tanner Bybee, Stephen Kwan, and Emmanuel Clase. 4 core players, although one of them, unfortunately, Clase, really scuffling to start the year. Good thing is it's happening early in the year, I guess. So you theoretically have plenty of time to correct things up. Now we're outside of Eerie Street Cemetery. Let's pop through here since we've got that cherry blossom field. Speaking of when I was in New Orleans, one of my videos that I did was a walk through a cemetery. And every cemetery, or every grave site or tomb in the cemetery looked like this. A huge tomb, and that's because the water level in New Orleans, you know, it's at or below sea level. So you really can't have the traditional underground grave burials. Again, I don't want to preach to be an expert. This is just very quick light reading. Seem to indicate that because of the sea level and water table, that you would risk like shifting of the graves, and it just wouldn't be very stable. So that's why I think all those had to be above ground. Although the thing that threw me then is were certain sections of that cemetery, small sections, that did have the traditional, what appeared to be underground burials. Let's enter the Playhouse Square area for a second. I'll make a left turn up here on trying to think if this is East 14th. I think it is. You can see Wolstein Center building in the background, Salvation Army, Rhodes Tower, and CSU. And as we approach Prospect beyond that, one of the Playhouse Square arches, there should be, what's here, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there's 4 arches for Playhouse Square. leading up to the grand General Electric chandelier. Right here, if you're familiar with the growth of these, you always know there's a certain smell that accompanies them. So I could smell that in all of its glory right now. Speaking of smells, what am I smelling here? Maybe it was the sewer. I was gonna say I smelled like a big time sewage smell as I was walking that direction. I'm just trying to wait for the light to change. I don't know, it's either sewage or garbage. It didn't seem like it was coming from the garbage can. Hannah Great Lakes Theater. Let's see here. I haven't been over here in a couple months. Let's see if that scaffolding is down yet by just to the right here. Once we get to Euclid, that's been a bit of an eyesore for the public Playhouse Square area. I always try to celebrate when scaffolding comes down and you get to truly enjoy the beautiful view of something. Remember, it was like that for West Side Market for quite a bit. I remember back years ago when Terminal Tower near the top of it had that scaffolding look while they were doing repairs. Nope, scaffolding is still up over here. Maybe sometime this year. You know what though, unless maybe my memory's fuzzy, maybe it feels like they took down some of the scaffolding. Like I thought the scaffolding was on this part and that part over there, like the entire building. Now it's just there, but my memory could be fuzzy. I thought I was encountering the scaffolding when I would reach those other properties too, and not just this short stretch. So if that's the case, that would be a little bit of an improvement. Earlier I mentioned the Ben & Jerry's. So here's the Starbucks, and according to the article, the Ben & Jerry's that submitted the planned site work would be between Ben & Jerry's and the Euclid Arch. So that would be right here and right here. So the door would probably be there, and then these two spaces would be Ben & Jerry's in the Hannah building, 1422 Euclid Avenue. So that would be nice to have another space filled down here. And that would really, add to the someone's visitors coming from out of state, or locals of course, but you're telling them recommendations of places to eat near the Playhouse Square area. You've got Corbo's, Bin 216, Fruit Stand, Republic, Parnell's, Cibrio Italian Kitchen, a few other spots, the old Ben & Jerry's, Starbucks. So a decent amount of places to have people eat. Situ's Lebanese Grill. And no one's quite taken the retail space in the Lumen here. I think you've got at least one or two places there. I know you have First National Bank here, at least an outside presence. But then still here you've got more. I mean, this may be the atrium to the Lumen itself. we approach East 17th Street and Euclid Avenue, the Cleveland State University campus. Remember, this is a Sunday, so no classes will be going on right now. But for people who live on campus, you may still see a little bit of foot traffic. One update about the Cleveland State University campus is either early this year, or I can't remember what month I mentioned it, I had talked about how there was a decision the university was trying to make between, because Fenn Tower had some constructional issues that they had to address. So the question was, are they going to, and everyone, Fenn Tower is not being occupied by any students right now. They have fences bordering the whole thing. So the question was, are they going to be able to restore Fenn Tower, or would they have to try to rehab certain floors in Rhodes Tower and convert that to a student building? Well, according to a video announcement by President Laura Bloomberg that I watched the other day, she said they are going to be renovating Fenn Tower instead. And Fenn Tower will include, renovated rooms and other, presumably whatever structural issues that were present. And I think she said fall of 2026, if I recall correctly, was the target date for that opening. Alright, so it's been a little under an hour, but I'm going to wrap up the live stream now and get ready to catch a Healthline bus toward University Circle, and fingers crossed that the cherry blossoms that we saw earlier are like that too. Oh, interesting. So I was gonna say, it looks like they've moved some of those artwork things. I noticed one earlier when we were passing by the Progressive Field area from Prospect, and now they put one over there. That looks like the green one that used to be by outside the BP building facing the Fountain of Eternal Youth. So now they've got that one at Cleveland State. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.